welcome to another episode of the Pixelated Sausage Show. Hi, everybody. How y'all doing? I'm, of course, your host, Marcus Nez. Did I already say that? I literally just started this. We're not even a minute in. I already forgot if I said my name or not. But I'll say it again, even though I know I already said it at least once. I'm Marcus Nez. Hi. How y'all doing? If you've been listening for a good long while, you already know that. So why do I keep telling you that? Because there might be someone new, that's why. I've got a lot of games to talk about. A lot. I think the list might be 9? There are 8 or 9 games. Some will be real quick. I'm going to try to get through them all relatively quickly. Because I feel good. I feel like I know what I want to say about these games. And I'm not going to meander about and just talk in circles. But before we get to those games, the highlight, the headliner being RoboCop, Rogue City. Spoilers, good game. Like it quite a bit. Funny realization. But I've been watching some stuff. I'm pretty much all caught up on all of my various, not backlogs, but queues. All my streaming queues. So I decided to, I finished watching The Librarians. Very enjoyable. Few stinkers in there, but overall, a really fun, silly little adventure show. I'm a big fan of the movies. I like Noah Wyle quite a bit. I don't think he's done anything else outside of ER, so I can't really seek him in other stuff. I imagine he's probably done his fair share of Hallmark Channel, rom-com, holiday-themed movies, which I do not want to watch and will not watch. As much as I love romantic comedies, I'm not watching that stuff. But I was curious about Warehouse 13, and if I had read the description prior to just getting the first season from the library and watching the first few episodes, I would have been able to tell, or I would have realized, it's just the librarian. You gotta put that S at the end. But less fun and with a warehouse instead of a library. And one of the funnest things about that aspect, that similarity, is that when you go looking online about what people think about the two and how they stack up against each other, a lot of back and forth about which came first, who stole whose idea, even though it's not the most original idea in general. But in actuality, while the Librarians TV show came out 4 or 5 years after Warehouse 13, and maybe it was less years, the movie, the first movie, because it was a movie trilogy that led to the Librarians TV show, that came out 4 or 5 years prior to Warehouse 13. So really, the Librarians came first. It was just the librarian without the S. But it's okay. I think I could potentially enjoy Warehouse 13 if I didn't just watch 4 seasons of The Librarians. So, not watching any more of that. And then I decided to give Invincible another shot, and I'm all caught up, which may make you think I really like it. I don't. I think it is very, very, very okay. It is the epitome of a shoulder shrug. It's fine. I really love the comic, but I read it back when it was coming out. I caught up with it and then was doing it weekly for a while. And I really liked it back then. My overall mehness on the TV show has me wondering if it's the adaptation that's just kind of fine, or if the story in general, the characters and all that, wouldn't quite work for me as well as they did back then, because I loved Invincible when I was reading it week to week to week. I thought it was fantastic. Absolutely, easily Kirkman's best work. Walking Dead what? It's all about Invincible. But the show is just I also watched the Adam Eve prequel one-off. Also fine. I do not like Walter Goggins voicing that character, whatever his name is. The character, their look, and his voice, they do not match at all. And I don't know if it's just that his voice doesn't match the character, or if it's that I can't not see Walter Goggins and he looks nothing like this character. But it's fine. And then I tried watching Gen V. That's the letter, right? It's V. But whatever. That Boys, not spin-off The Boys Season 4, but not The Boys Season 4, but actually The Boys Season 4, that show. And I lasted about 10 or 15 minutes into it before I had to stop. That is definitely a mood show for me, and potentially a mood I'll never be in, because it feels very much like a show made for the TikTok generation, which is probably suiting, given that it's called Gen V. And is that what Gen V is? Is Gen V the TikTok generation? I don't know what any of the generations are. All I know is that I'm a millennial. I'm pretty sure. Which I don't like any of these generations because they don't make sense. Their cutoff dates and all that, they fit too wide of a array of types of people. For instance, I remember a time pre-internet, pre-cell phones, pre-all that, and I'm in a generation that has plenty of people who don't, so that seems weird to me. But now I don't know what to watch. I don't know what to watch. But I know what to play. And that's games like RoboCop, Rogue City. Let me get up the Google Keep little document with all the things. Yeah. RoboCop, Rogue City, The Smurfs 2, The Prisoner of the Green Stone, Slender, The Arrival, the remake. You got a remake. Then Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2, DreamWorks All-Star Kart Racing, Hero Survivor, Indoor Kickball, and Fusion Paradox. Whole hell of a lot of games. And we're starting with RoboCop, of course. So, the funny thing about RoboCop right off the bat was playing it after Terminator Resistance seemed mildly amusing. Yeah, I just played this game based on this 80s action property, and now I'm playing another one. And then about 10 minutes in, I started thinking, man, this UI, both the in-game UI and the menus, they remind me a lot of Terminator Resistance. Who made this RoboCop game? What's the developer? Looked up at the developer. I don't remember the name of them. Then I clicked through. It's a fucking same developer. So that just tickled me a little bit. But I've played 3 or so hours, maybe a little more. Then that I went through the I went through the tutorial mission, and then through the entire first chapter or so, where you have your specific main objective, and then you can go off and do a bunch of side objectives and stuff of that nature. And I really like it. I like it more than Terminator Resistance. It does what I think, or one of the things I thought while playing Terminator Resistance that made me question that game's entire existence, which is, why am I playing as a resistance fighter when it would be so much more fun to play as a... Forget about that goddamn alarm. When it would be way more fun to shut up, watch, shut your damn mouth. Why does it go off so freaking long? There, it's over. But I remember playing Terminator Resistance thinking to myself, why am I not just playing as a Terminator? Wouldn't that be more fun? Who really wants to play this story? But it was still an enjoyable game. It was well made. It's a fun little game. But here you get to play as RoboCop. Because, of course, in a RoboCop game, you're going to play as a RoboCop. You're going to play as RoboCop. You're not going to play as fucking Lewis. Though I kind of wouldn't mind seeing what that game would be, because that'd be a fucking weird-ass game. I'm going to play as Lewis. I don't want to play as Lewis. She's a terrible actress. I don't like her. But I like this more because you're playing as RoboCop, so you're playing as a badass. And that is what the game excels at, is making you feel like a badass. And to that point, I would highly recommend putting the game down on the easiest difficulty right off the bat, because it's not a first-person shooter about challenging yourself. It's a first-person shooter game about blowing the shit out of all of these hoodlums, seeing particle effects scatter across the screen, exploding limbs, exploding heads, explosions, and just having a fun-ass time. It is a game of two parts, the first-person shooting parts, and then a lot of menial cop work, which is going to be a mileage may vary for people in how much you enjoy that stuff. But you can also just ignore that stuff and main path it, follow the main objectives, and just do that and make it a much shorter experience for yourself. But I am someone who likes to go and do everything, and that's what I was doing. So I was doing a lot of back and forth cop jobs of talking to this person, then talking to that person, investigating this area, which is not much of an investigation. The investigations, when you're doing all that kind of stuff, it's just you going into your little RoboCop vision and staring at the things that are clearly highlighted for you to stare at. You look at them for about 2-3 seconds. Oh, okay. There, I got some evidence. You stare at some other shit. Oh, all right. More evidence. And then eventually you'll have enough evidence to go talk to someone else or search some new area. And there's a lot of back and forth in that stuff. And that, of course, is not going to be fun for some people, but you don't have to do it. The main objectives are the main objectives. With the main objectives, you may have to do a little bit of investigating, but a lot of it is just shooty. And the shooting stuff feels really, really good. I love the fact that your pistol is the only weapon you really need to use. You can pick up weapons and use them, which is kind of weird. Mostly because it's weird seeing RoboCop reload an assault rifle. There's something about that animation that seems less robotic. But his pistol, unlimited ammunition, super powerful. You get to play around with upgrades after you finish the first chapter. Very, very fun. And the shooting bits, what I like about them, in addition to the gunplay just feeling good, is that the feedback is also really good that you get from shooting enemies. There's a lot of ridiculous physics, over-the-top physics at play. So you'll see enemies getting blown way back and interacting with the environment, flipping over objects. If you shoot somebody who's on a second floor over by a railing, you shoot them, they'll fall over the railing, fall down, shooting off limbs, and if you blast them with enough explosive oomph, their limbs will go flying and
they could hit the ceiling, then flop down, hit the top of a car, roll off the car, and there's a lot of fun there. And it reminds me of your classic no point in shooting down your iron sights. There's no point in iron sighting games like Painkiller and stuff of that nature, where you're just blasting away enemies, and there's a lot of silly, ridiculous physics that makes it extra satisfying. So the shooting feels really, really good. You can grab enemies, you can grab objects. The particle effects are very nice to look at, and really give the shooting an extra bit of style, kind of reminiscent too of John Woo movies. And I also would say I'm playing on Xbox Series X. There is a quality mode and a performance mode. Quality mode, immediately throw that out the window. It fucking runs like dog shit. The performance mode runs overall pretty well, but it does pick up here and there, and there are some drops and some performance woes, but overall very, very playable. But quality mode was awful. Would not recommend that at all, but it still looks good on performance mode, and it feels good. So that is what I recommend, and I don't recommend it in this is the preferred way, but this is, I would say, the only way to play it currently. Hopefully they optimize it a bit better, both versions, both modes, performance and quality mode, in future updates. But you can grab enemies, throw them around, grab objects, throw that shit around, and it's all fun. It's all fun. The story and all that kind of stuff. Solid RoboCop action. Solid voice acting. Got a little skill tree to deal with. But I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it so far. One of my favorite games of the year. But I haven't played that many 2023 games. But just play it on easy and enjoy being RoboCop. Because that's what the game's for. It's for that wish fulfillment. And it does a really good job of it. There's no New Game Plus, sadly. But you can, not to farm XP or anything, but the game does autosave at the beginning of every mission. So you can replay missions, which is nice. But you won't get your upgrades or anything like that. So there's a limit to that. Hopefully, I would really like to see them add a New Game Plus or something in a future update, so that you can go through the game again fully upgraded. There's some interesting upgrades I haven't played around with yet, because I wanted to focus on my health and stuff. There's some stuff I think you can slow down time, some electric shock type things, and fun game. Whether you like RoboCop or not, because I'm not a huge RoboCop fan. I think RoboCop is fine, but I'm not a diehard RoboCop fan. But that's RoboCop Rogue City. Next up is the Smurfs 2, The Prisoner of the Green Stone. This is the sequel to the Smurfs Mission Relief, which I played for Attack the Backlog a few months or so ago. If you watched that episode, you probably got nothing out of it, because I committed to replacing a lot of words with Smurf. And so, while I think, and people have attested to being able to still understand the general idea of how I felt about the game and everything, and I have talked about how much I enjoyed that game in other areas, in other places, in other shows like this, probably. Whatever. I don't even know where I was going with that. The Smurfs 2, though, God, it's such a mouthful, though. The Prisoner of the Greenstone. It is just more of the same for the most part, and that is a very good thing. It looks great. It plays well, runs well, feels great. They replaced the vacuum, your little vacuum that you could also shoot out like a healing aura with. They replaced that with a more traditional gun that you shoot out. I think it's some kind of food concoction. But it works relatively the same. And you have a vacuum thing to suck up things, but you're removing this mucky green crystal stuff from the environment. It feels like combat is a bit more of a significant part of the game than in Mission Relief, from my memory, where you have your shooting sections. And the shooting feels all right. It's not great. I wouldn't go and say, oh, this is one of the best third-person shooters I've ever played. But when you're asked to shoot a bunch of enemies, when you end up in these arena-type spaces and you get a small wave of enemies, it feels surprisingly good. But they've tweaked a few things. They removed your pack and that being the way you boost around the environment, and now allow you to just sprint freely, no stamina, and you could dash as much as you want, no worrying about some kind of meter, so that's nice. And just it's a great third person 3D action platformer. The first game, Mission Relief, was great. This is just more of that, with a few tweaks that make it a little bit better. I've got way more to play, and the story, who gives a shit? You're working with Gargamesh, whatever the hell his stupid ass name is, because some fucking, I don't know, some creature came and took the green stone that he had because he wanted to do some shit with it. Who cares? You don't need to give a shit about the Smurfs to enjoy this game. I don't. As far as the story and all that kind of stuff is concerned, I enjoy it just because of the charming nature of it, the quality of the voice acting, which is really good, and the commitment to the Smurfs nature of stuff, of replacing random words with Smurf, of committing to rhymes, specifically when the narrator is telling you about the story in between levels and stuff. And that's all great. I love it. I love it. The only thing that sucks is, who knows this game even came out? I didn't even know. And I was excited about it when it was first announced. I've been excited about it, knowing that it existed. And I didn't even realize it came out. And then I got a code for it, and I was like, oh, shit. It's out. And it's great. But I would recommend, if you haven't already played the first game, pick that game up first. Not that there's any important story thing you have to get or anything of that nature, but just, it goes on sale pretty regularly. It'll probably go on sale during the fall sales coming up in the next few weeks. So pick that up, play that, enjoy it, then check out the Smurfs 2. You're welcome. Don't bother with that Trolls game from last week. Then Slender: The Arrival, the remake. I didn't play too much of this because I'm a big old baby, but I was curious about this because when I got the first email about its existence, I was, one, surprised that it was being remade, and then two, surprised by what I was seeing in terms of it being way more of a significant remake than I was expecting. It's not just a kind of cleaning up. It's a pretty significant facelift, to the point where when I was playing it, I was thinking to myself, man, I wish this wasn't a cheap horror jump scare game, because this looks pretty damn good, and I like, this is a pretty forest. I just want to explore this forest. Why does this fucking Slender Man have to be after me? That's what it is. It's a game for people who enjoy the cheap scares of exploring and jump scaring, because that's what it is. You have your little prologue that gives you a little bit of story, and then the first level after that is the 8 pages thing that was first introduced in the original. I think it was a free little downloadable thing where you're searching for these pages, and as you collect more and more pages, the audio starts kicking in more and more, and the potential of Mr. Slender catching up to you and then getting all up in your face increases and increases. And I don't like that shit. There's no safe mode. There is a difficulty option, but that's not the same as a safe mode, as having a safe mode, which I understand in this case because the whole point of the game is the jump scare and all that kind of jazz, whereas a game like Soma is very much a more narrative driven. So having a safe mode in that game makes sense. Having a safe mode in this seems like what's the point? Just like with the Five Nights at Freddy's games. If there was a safe mode in those games, what would be the point here? Yeah. Play safe. I would actually love to play a Five Nights at Freddy with a safe mode where it's just unlimited power, or the doors are just always closed. All right. And then the fucking animatronics, they end up at the windows and they're just like, you gonna open the door, buddy? Hi. They just tap at the window. It'd be funny if they just made a version of the game that was like that and designed to make fun of that. But what would the point of that be? And that's, you know, if you're a fan of those types of horror games, though, where it's just about avoiding getting caught while having to do some kind of simple task, then check out this remake, because it's quite the remake, I'd say. But it is just that. I think there's some new content, but I don't think there's a whole bunch of new content. But it looks really, really nice and plays well, runs well. I think the visual upgrade has done a lot to add to the atmosphere and mood and all that. So good on them. Good on them. They took a game that originally I thought was kind of whatever, and I still think from a gameplay standpoint it's whatever, but from a polish standpoint it's nice upgrade. Then Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2. Seen a lot of praise for this game, but I am in the camp that it's, in terms of the polish and all that, looks really good. It's got the voice acting, which I think the first game didn't have. That's nice. It has this really interesting roguelite campaign mode, which I'm a big fan of. I think it works well. You go on runs, you do that to unlock characters, which you can then take on future runs, unlock little bonuses for your character in the campaign, like multiple jumps. Instead of just a double jump, you can have a triple, quadruple jump. That's cool. But I don't like the way it plays, and I don't like the way it plays because it has a specific control scheme. There's no way to remap the buttons, and I fucking hate it. I'm playing on Xbox. Why is the Y button jump? Y is your jump, and then A and B are your heavy and light attacks, or your two main attacks. So, you're free to do whatever you want with controls, and maybe that's how it works for Smash. I don't know. I'm not a huge Smash fan either. Outside of the soundtrack, that's what I love about Smash Ultimate. But I like Smash Ultimate more. I think it's more enjoyable than this. It feels better. The main benefit of Nickelodeon's All-Star Brawl and other similar games is that they're multi-platform. But for me, as far as I'm concerned, if you have a jump, you map it to the A button, or on the PlayStation it would be the X button, or you map it to one of the triggers, but I think mostly when it's mapped to the trigger, it's usually the left trigger. That's it. I don't want this Y for jump shit. No. A button. Let me remap the fucking thing. And I could probably do that at the system level. I'm not making a fucking custom control scheme at the system level for fucking Nickelodeon All-Star. Put this option in the game. Let me remap the fucking controls. Without that, because I played it for an hour, maybe 2, somewhere in that range, and I was still just accidentally pressing. I did not like the way. I just did not like the fucking controls for this game, which is too bad. But if that doesn't bother you, you'll probably like it. It's a very, very particular thing there, a very, very specific thing to me. But the most surprising game of all of these games is DreamWorks All-Star Kart Racing. I really like this game. It feels really good. It looks great. I think there's a lot of color and fun to all of the levels. The shortcut system is interesting. It's more visually interesting than gameplay-wise interesting in that instead of having shortcuts you have to discover in the track design, in the levels, the tracks will have these lyres, musical lyres, Lyre. They're like fucking harp looking lutes. They have those that you drive through, and then that'll reveal a short little section with that ends in a ramp that'll get you to another lyre and then another lyre. I think there are 3 per shortcut, and it just has a really striking visual associated with them because they reveal this rainbow road that ends in the ramp, and it looks really good. There's just so much color in the various tracks, and it looks really, really good. And despite the character profile images having this ugly, low poly, cel shaded look to them, the actual in-game character models look great. And given that it's a DreamWorks thing, there aren't many DreamWorks things. I was wondering what the hell are they going to fill this game with? And you've got a whole bunch of Shrek characters, a whole bunch of Kung Fu Panda characters. You got Boss Baby and Boss Lady. Okay, I didn't even realize there was a DreamWorks property. You got some How to Train Your Dragon stuff. And then Megamind. Oh yeah, and some Madagascar characters. But who cares? That doesn't friggin' matter. And then the gameplay feels pretty good. The power-ups and all that jazz aren't super great, and there's some weird animation quirks there. But what I love most about the way it plays is that for the first time in a kart racer, I think the drifting feels fantastic because you can fight against it in a significant way or go with it, making it a lot easier to control your drift around turns. And if you can correct things if you're maybe under drifting or over drifting. And I think that aspect of it feels really, really good. I have never been good at drifting in kart racers, but in here I could drift around every corner and get boosts like crazy, and because of that I was doing very, very well. It ended up being very easy for me. But I really, really like it. The only problem is, who is the game for? There's so many kart racers out there, and if you're a fan of kart racing, you probably already have Mario Kart. I'm not a fan of Mario Kart. I wish I was, because the amount of support they've given that game, incredible. The number of tracks they now have in that game, ridiculous. and it has a thriving online community. It's got everything you want if you like it. And maybe I should give it another shot, because I didn't play that much of it. It's just I bounce off it quickly. That could be an attack the backlog thing. But the problem with the DreamWorks things is that, okay, if you're a fan of DreamWorks properties, sure, yeah. I don't think you have to be. But if you're not, why are you playing this over Mario Kart or Crash Team Racing or other things? You have to, if you want to play multiplayer, you're going to have some local friends because the online is fucking dead. Am I surprised by that? No. It just came out, so maybe it'll find an audience. I didn't see it. There's never any notification about crossplay or anything like that, so I don't know if that's a thing. If it's not, it should be a thing. It should be a thing with every game. But that's going to be a bit of a knock against it. But ignoring that, I think it's a super solid kart racer with great drifting, great visuals. Kind of dull track design in part because the shortcut system is tied to these things that aren't. They're just short. It's a shortcut system. It's not a hidden area system or anything. There's no real secrets to be found. And usually the collectibles on tracks are at the end of a shortcut. The sound-alikes too. The sound-alikes are all over the fucking place in terms of their closeness to the actual voice actors and their voices. And in some cases, it doesn't really matter. Fucking Tigress doesn't sound like Angelina Jolie, but what does Angelina Jolie really sound like? Does it really matter? No, who gives a shit? Fiona sounds pretty close, but also Cameron Diaz, does she have a distinct voice? Who fucking cares? Shrek sounds like a fucking... Shrek sounds way too posh. It's weird. Then Donkey sounds sometimes very close, and then sometimes something wrong with you. Puss in Boots sounds great because it's such a generic whatever voice that I thought Antonio Banderas was doing the voice of some... I remember there was some kind of like drug ad that used that voice. And I was like, that's just fucking Puss in Boots. It just seems that's an easy voice to do. That's all good. But they're all over the place. But that is, again, DreamWorks All-Star Kart Racing. Pretty cool. Hero Survival is a Vampire Survivors-like, where it's weapon-based in that you, over the course of your runs, you will obtain multiple weapons, and you could attach them to your four corners around your character. And it's a Vampire Survivors like. Instead of it being one long run, the runs work off of a timer. So you're working off of rounds essentially, and the timer grows longer and longer and longer. So you have to survive longer and longer between rounds, and the enemies will start coming at you in larger numbers. Of course, so the difficulty increases, but you get to pick some kind of perk, a brand new weapon, a brand new modifier after each round. And you also level up and get some perks that may last only that single round or through your entire run. That's all right. It's got a bright, colorful, vibrant, contrast-heavy aesthetic. Large strokes around the characters. Big old borders and all that. Outlines, that is. And it's okay, but it doesn't really do anything super special. And I found that a lot of these Vampire Survivors likes are just, it's not my genre exactly. I found the fun in Vampire Survivors, and part of it was realizing that there was eventually a way to make it a lot faster, because that's one of the things I don't like about the games. They're just really, really slow. I just feel like I'm wasting time. But you can pick up the speed in Vampire Survivors, and that makes it a lot better. The one thing I like, though, is that when enemies sometimes drop coins or whatever, of course, you can pick them up by walking over them. But as you add more and more weapons, typically guns, but there are some melee weapons in all your four corners. Those, of course, obstruct your vision of the playing field. They're in the way, and they can make it hard to see certain things. So walking over a coin or something of that nature could be more difficult when you have 4 guns in each of the corners, or a gun in each corner. But to make up for that, you can walk over a coin to pick it up, of course. But if you move over the coin with one of the guns, that also collects it. So I like that they thought that out, and that works that way. Just wanted to put that out there because I think that was a nice thing to realize in designing it. Indoor kickball. I don't know if this is how kickball works. In one, you just have a franchise campaign mode and a 1v1 mode, and that's how the kickball works. It's 1v1. But it's really weird. I don't understand I don't know if this is how the rules work. And there's some weird things going on because of the way it's designed with the 1v1 nature. I don't think you have any control over the ghost, because if you get a hit and you end up on base, being that it's 1v1, then a ghost takes your place. It becomes a ghost runner. And I couldn't... There didn't seem to be any control over that. But the way it works is that if you're pitching, you throw the ball. Everything, there are no balls, no strikes, none of that shit. You just have to eventually kick the ball. You end up in this stupid loop. But to get someone out, you either have to tag them with the ball, or throw the ball at them and hit them with the ball, or if you catch the ball, they'll be out. Or you can force someone out if somebody kicks the ball near second base, for instance, and you're right there, you pick it up and you tag second base before the runner at first reaches second. It's just it feels weird, but also the ghost system breaks it. Breaks it in that, like I just said, you can make someone out, you can tag someone out or whatever by throwing the ball at them and hitting them with it. I don't know if it's bugged out, broken, or what. You can't throw the ball at a ghost runner. It'll just go through them because they're a ghost, and it doesn't acknowledge that you threw it at them. So you can't make can't make them out that way. That sucks. If you're on offense and you kick the ball and it bounces off the walls in these smaller environments and it hits you, but it just hits you off of a ricochet. The defense didn't pick up the ball and throw it at you or do anything, didn't touch it or anything, you're out. So if you get hit with the ball, even if the defense didn't do shit, that counts as out. Is that how it works? That seems weird. Oh my god. It's just not fun. It's not fun. But it got me thinking. The kickball, that's the same thing as a dodgeball, right? So is a dodgeball a kickball that you throw at each other? Or is a kickball a dodgeball that you kick? Or are they both just rubber balls that you kick or throw at each other? I don't know. And then the last one is Fusion Paradox, which is interesting little roguelite twin stick shooter where you're moving from room to room to room in a very traditional type of rogue setup, where the gimmick is you have the ability to switch between two different colors, and in some cases you'll have to switch to a certain color to attack certain enemies. Otherwise they'll be more essentially ghosts that your projectiles will just go through. So it's very reminiscent of Ikaruga or Outland, and it's a cool idea. And there are puzzle rooms that you can find if there'll be some statue in an area, and then you have to find the rune, shoot it, and then you go to these puzzle rooms that utilize this mechanic and utilize it in a way where you can't actively freely switch between the colors, and you can't fire your weapon, and you have to go through specific gateways that'll switch your color for you, move objects, and do some light puzzling, which I appreciated that they even put them in there. Not super challenging, but it's a nice little change of pace from all of the shooting. So I think there's some good ideas here. I like the whole color changing mechanic. I think that's fun. I wish more games did that because I really liked Outland, like Ikaruga. And it's got a solid, if uninspired, roguelite setup with the room-based thing in the vein of stuff like Binding of Isaac or any of those more dungeon crawly roguelites specifically, with a kind of isometric camera angle. The problem is it's just not super fun to play. The shooting is okay, but it's barely okay. So it has some good ideas. Doesn't look that great. Pretty low poly, jaggy look to it. And they need to up the fun factor. But I look at it and I think to myself, there's something here. There's something here. And if they polish it up, maybe threw in some more unique new ideas, a Fusion Paradox 2 could be a really, really good time. But Fusion Paradox is just okay. It's fine. It's fine. It's over. It's okay. It's a game that if you ended up playing it for whatever, if it was on Game Pass, for instance, I'd say yeah, check it out. If it's on sale for pretty cheap, I'd also say yeah, check it out. But this year, with the sheer gluttony of shit to play, there's no time. There's no time for anything. So unless you really stand out, it's a rough year. This is a rough year. But that is it. That's all the games. That's everything. So that will do it for this year episode of the Pixelated Sausage Show. I am, of course, your host, once again, Mark Krishness. Y'all can find me pretty much everywhere at PX Sausage. If you enjoy this here show or any of the stuff I do and what have you, you can go over to Pixelated Sausage. No, you go over to what? Patreon.com/PXS and support me and my nonsense over there. That's again Patreon.com/PXS. Brand new episode of Attack the Backlog went up this past Sunday for Paratopic. Check it out. Cool little game. It was a last minute choice because I knew it was a shorty. And I needed that. But I keep saying this forever. I really, more likely than anything, let's just say I'm feeling like, things are going to start to get back on track. Let's just fucking say the rest of this year is a wash. Who knows how anything's going to play out. But 2024, that's when it's all going to start. That's when things are going to come up Millhouse, whatever the fuck you say. But, again, you like my crap or whatever and you want to support me in my nonsense, Patreon.com/PXS. Get some exclusives and bonuses. Which future, I'm gonna do some private streams, finish some dumb streams. I want to do some stupid tier list making kind of crap, and who knows, might stream some RoboCop and just do a little hangout stream, or me playing fucking Walking Zombie 2 is just gonna take forever to get those gosh darn achievements. But in addition to Patreon and all that jazz, you can also get links to all of my stuff, including the site, the YouTube, Discord, everything that you could possibly want to link to over at pxsausage.com, including the Patreon. There's a link for it there as well. That is, again, pxsausage.com. But that is it. That is all. As always, thank you for watching or listening. I hope you enjoy this here episode, and I hope you have both a wonderful rest of your day, a lovely rest of your week, and a wonderful weekend. But for now, adios, arrivederci, bye!
It's go time, go daddy. It's go time, go daddy.